Welcome back, everyone, to the Youth Rise podcast, a platform dedicated for the voices of youth in various communities. I'm your host, Queenie Gong, and today I'm joined with another one of my great friends, Alexandra Ye. For a bit of background knowledge, Alexandra and I go to the same high school, and this year, our junior year, we got particularly close with each other due to the many classes we share together. We immediately clicked and became great friends, as we related to each other a lot as we come from similar backgrounds and share similar future aspirations. In part 1 of this 2-episode series with Alexandra, we talk primarily about her background, her childhood difficulties, the importance of skating in her life, and her future aspirations. Alexandra is such a genuine, authentic, and insightful young mind, and I loved chatting with her so that she can share her experiences and insights with everyone. Hope you all enjoy. Let's just begin with a quick introduction. How about you just tell the listeners a few details about your life, such as your hobbies and background?
Okay, hi, my name is Alexandra Ye. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, and a fun fact about me was that I was born in California, actually, and then my family moved back and forth a lot as my parents worked at a lot of different jobs and they had to travel. And then I grew up in Langley, which is like a farm. It's not really a farm, but it's like a rural community, and now I live in the big city. So,
that's really cool. What would you say drove your parents to move to Canada? Why did your parents really want to have that change in environment?
I think they wanted to have like a better education and like a better life for me and my brother, as like a lot of immigrant parents probably have the same experience. But yeah, I guess Canadian education system is probably like a lot better than American for like younger grades.
Do you think the moving around kind of impacted your childhood a lot?
Yeah, definitely. Like growing up in like a small village far away from the city, I was kind of like, one thing I noticed is that I had a lot more connections with nature. Like, grew up going to these huge parks, walking around in forests and playing in tree houses. And then now, like, there's barely anything like that nearby the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely...
Yeah, it's very different, I think, from all the, like, very tall buildings
here
in Vancouver.
Also, living so far away from the city meant that there weren't as many job opportunities. And since we were, like, immigrating, my family didn't have a lot of money, so it was hard for my parents to get jobs. So my mom ended up being an entrepreneur and building like a production plant for freeze-dried pet foods. So as a child, her building that meant that she had to dedicate a lot of her time and energy, if not being directly on site, which most of the time she was. But then when she was at home, she would be very busy to kind of like give me a lot of like support and attention. But when she was busy, she would also put me at my friend's house or at her friend's house. So I kind of like got to know a lot of people in my community and her friends through that way. And even though my mom was busy a lot of the time, I got to spend time with a lot of other people's moms who also took care of me like I was their own kid.
Yeah.
So if my friend was enrolled in tennis classes, I'd be in the tennis classes too. And if my friend is in skating, which is how I started figure skating, I also got registered into the skating class. So even though I didn't like it at the beginning, I was kind of forced into it. And then eventually I developed a passion for it.
Oh yeah, that's like really interesting. I feel like not many kids our age have that experience where they're kind of like in different homes. And I feel like because we're both Chinese, I think it's a bit different because our culture has a really strong understanding of like family and like spending time with family, and that's like number one. So I think that's very different, but that also like helped you develop your personality and who you are and your identity, right?
Yeah, definitely. As a kid, I feel like it could go one of two ways if you're like with a lot of different people. Like you could either become really shy and nervous, or you could become extremely talkative. So I was the second. So I was kind of, well, since I was with other people that weren't my parents, they didn't necessarily know if something was wrong just by looking at me. So I learned to say, like, if I was hungry, I would ask for food. If I was, like, thirsty, I'd ask for a drink or something. So I became very outspoken about my needs and, like, kind of, like, what I needed. And then I also became very talkative. I learned to talk to a lot of the Asian aunties that I was put with. And then I became friends with a lot of them. And I still, like, talk to them now. Like, if I see them again, it's really nice to catch up about how my life has been and how their life has been too.
Yeah, I think it's great that you got the second part, not like the shy one, because right now I feel like a lot of students they're struggling with the timidness and just not being able to like speak out their ideas. Especially at school, we see a lot of students not being able to raise their hand up because they're scared of what the class or the teacher will think of their ideas, and just being able to like be extroverted and talk to other people and connect. I think that will really help you later on in life, because you need that to like connect with other people, because once you go to university everyone is new, everyone's in the same place, and then just being not afraid to get yourself out there, I think that's a very important skill. So that's amazing that you got that from a situation that kind of sounds not too good and you made it kind of good for yourself, so that's nice.
Yeah, so adding on to that, like making friends at university, last summer I did a bunch of summer programs and I found out that me being talkative and willing to engage in a conversation led me to make a lot of new friends from kind of all over North America and the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was definitely helpful. Like, for example, if I was with my roommates and it was like the first night somewhere new, it was kind of awkward, I would just like start talking about something random and they would be able to add on. We just add on to each other and it would end in a lot of like laughter and giggles. And I'd be like, okay, I made a new friend.
Yeah, that's really cool, because then like if you go to university you might be able to meet one of them again, and it's just like reconnecting, or just like having friends if you travel there then you can
Yeah.
meet up with them and just talk about all the old memories you had with them as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think just knowing a lot of people, you get to hear a lot of different stories and realize things that like you never would have known otherwise. Just like meeting other people kind of just enriches yourself and your own
Yeah, oh yeah,
personality.
you learn from other people as well, and you learn about yourself meeting other people, I think, because they kind of bring out something new about you if they are a bit different from who you are, and I think that's good because you discover more about someone else but also yourself.
Yeah, like I remember last summer I was at this like aerospace engineering camp at
Mhm.
Johns Hopkins in the States. And there was this one girl who was in my group. She was from Ecuador and she was a year older than me. And then she was doing some derivations using Kepler's laws and stuff because we were figuring out how to launch a rocket to get to Mars. So she was like doing all the calculations and doing these insane physics derivations on the chalkboard. And I remember watching her and I had like known nothing about physics, but I just remember seeing her and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's like so inspiring." And then it like kind of motivated me to like learn the physics and have more motivation. Anyways, she's at like Columbia now for
Oh
engineering.
my god, that's so crazy.
She got in for early decision too.
Oh my
Super
god.
inspirational. Just like
Wait, now that you understand, you've learned a bit of AP physics and calculus. Do you understand what she did now?
no, because she was using like Kepler's laws of planetary motion. That's like our next curriculum.
Oh my gosh, I could not even. I would get dizzy just by looking at that whatever she wrote. I can't even imagine it. Yeah, that's crazy because she lives in like Ecuador is like a pretty not a well developed country, right?
Yes.
So it's amazing that she's able to like actually do well in education and go off into the States into one of the top schools for
Yeah.
engineering, which is also a very hard subject to study. And she's also a woman in STEM now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like what you want to do. So I see how it's like an inspiration for you.
Yeah, definitely. So her being able to go to such a prestigious school like an Ivy school has also kind of opened up possibilities for me in my future, because I never thought that going to those Ivy League schools or those top ranked schools in America would be possible for someone like me, like coming from a background like I grew up in like a farm, like somewhere super rural. But yeah, in the future I definitely want to pursue engineering or some science somewhere in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to if I could go to Caltech because it's just so cool. First of all, small class sizes, so like
Yeah,
I would be able
cool.
to I'd be able to make connections with professors and stuff and build connections with each other instead of being like a tiny like ant in like a giant colony at a bigger university.
Yeah, TMI, my brother got rejected from Caltech. He was telling I never like Caltech is not a well-known university unless you want to pursue engineering, I feel. So then when my brother told me Caltech, I was like, oh, what's that university? Because I was like 12 or something like that. And then he was like, oh, it's a top university, I'm never gonna get in. And then he got rejected. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get in either.
No,
But
we should stay positive. It's okay.
I think I'm gonna apply to like the other youth, like the California schools, too, because I just really want to go live in California. Like,
That's so true.
yeah, because Vancouver is so like rainy and stuff all the time.
And it's close to home. It's not that far away because it's California is still west coast of America, right?
Yeah, and it's like the same time zone, so I could like text my parents like at normal times. Which is super nice.
Yeah, I think university life in general, although the work is going to be harder, obviously, compared to high school, you have a lot more freedom because you are technically independent away from your family if you go off to the States. And then you do have longer breaks. And then you can go off to travel. Because my brother now, for spring break, summer break, he's going to Korea or like Mexico. And I'm so jealous of him because for us, junior year is the worst year technically, and then senior year, like after applications, it's fine, but then I'm just so excited to graduate. That's like the only like next year during this time we're gonna be so happy. Or like after after because we get our college applications back. And then APs, it won't be too determinate because the AP scores doesn't really matter too much. You just have to kind of just maintain your grades, but that's something that we have trained basically our whole high school life. So just a few more months and then we're free. That's
true. But the grade 12s at our school, some of them like a little stress. Like,
oh yeah, that's true. But I think compared to how I'm feeling now, because I know there's more things up ahead. Yeah. When you're in grade 12, you know you're kind of done. You just have to finish this amount. But then grade 11, it's like you're not really expecting, like there's unexpected things that could come up. And that's what kind of scares me a bit about the next few months. But I know I'll get by eventually.
Yeah, me too.
So you talked about kind of wanting to pursue STEM post-secondary, and currently you are a junior in high school, and university applications are coming soon, and school is probably very stressful for everyone. So how are you kind of taking this all in, and what are you hoping for in the future?
I think that since I know what I want to do, I know I want to go into something science-based, hopefully engineering, that no matter like kind of where life takes me, I'll like find a way to get there regardless. So I know school has been really stressful, and obviously there's a lot of workload in grade 11. In my school, we have a lot of APs, so I'm in a bunch of APs, and people warned me against it initially, but my science teacher, who I've had for a couple years in a row, that I've gotten really close, he encouraged me to do it. And then actually I enjoyed taking all the APs because I feel like it's a good challenge, and especially since the APs are on subjects I like, such as like sciences, math, and stuff, it doesn't feel like a chore at all. Like doing homework for the sciences I like the classes I like, even though they're harder, but I would rather do them than something that doesn't interest me, such as English or French.
Yeah, that's true. I feel, because I go to school with you and I see you in all the science classes, and everyone is kind of like, all the other students, their attitude is kind of like, I don't want to do this, but you're very eager to learn. And I believe that that's a good mindset to have, especially in this time period where everyone is super stressful. If you stay positive, then I think that'll get you far. And teachers always, now, since teachers know that the juniors are all suffering from the schoolwork, they always say that like you'll eventually get there, like you said. And it doesn't really matter if you don't get into your first choice, because they say you'll get into a choice. And that's what matters, even though you might be a bit upset if you don't get into your first choice. If you stay motivated, I still think that you'll get to what your goal is. So
yeah, over spring break, I was at this book signing by Dr. Shohini Ghosh. She's a professor at Wilfrid Laurier University in physics and astronomy. And she wrote a book about the women in the history of astronomy, and I went to her book signing. It was really cool. Like, I was the only like high schooler in the audience. It was full of like other professors or like undergrads at least. Anyways, I was talking to her after about like future advice, since I want to go into STEM, and also I'm like women in STEM, right? And she was telling me the same thing, to like just stay motivated and to work hard, and even if something doesn't happen, as long as you have that intrinsic motivation and you know what your final goal is, you can just kind of find a way around whatever doesn't go your way. And I think that's something very important to realize. Like, not every step has to be perfect for you to get to the final destination.
Yeah, I think that mindset is very important for everyone to slowly develop, and it's good that you have that. You also do competitive skating and outside of like school, or you used to do competitive skating. How about you tell the listeners a bit about your experience with skating?
So I've grown up in the sport of skating. I've been doing it from when I was 4 and now I'm 16 and I still do it. And then I kind of just progressed through the levels. And then in skating, there's like harder and harder jumps that you kind of have to do, or else you just like can't compete at that level anymore. So I kind of just watched like a lot of my friends like leave. And then eventually it was almost kind of lonely at my club. So I had to change to another club where there were more people at my same level. And then it kind of like the sport taught me how to be like perseverant and stuff. But then it just became a lot of stress because dealing with school on top of that. And then I just kind of took a step back.
Yeah, that was probably a lot of high schoolers do that, because once you hit like a certain point, you sometimes like hit a slump and you just can't really progress anymore. But you are still skating currently. So how has that been for you?
Yeah, I started synchronized skating almost a year ago, and synchronized skating is completely different from what I used to do. So I used to do like a lot of jump spins, sort of what you see on TV. And then synchronized skating, it's totally different. It's in a team. And I do enjoy like being on the ice still and being able to maintain my connection with a sport I've done my whole life. I just miss like the old stuff I used to do a lot.
Yeah. Because you have like memories from both sports, like kind of both aspects in the same sport. So is skating going to be something you think you're going to do for like forever? Or like not competitively, of course, or like synchronized, probably like just recreational after you graduate from high school, but it's still like a sport that you really love.
Yeah, I think I'll just keep continuing it. And I still work on some of my old skills kind of alone on public sessions. So I just maintain it. And like, who knows, if I ever get a chance to skate in like the Rocky Mountains or like somewhere natural ice, like.
Oh yeah, like in Alberta where they have the really beautiful mountains and then like the lakes that are really cold, and then you can like make cool TikToks there, I guess.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so it's during skating, I guess it's kind of the sport that's very notorious for having like very young skaters who go on to like international levels, as well as like injuries. I think is a big part of skating, because for me personally, I used to do skating as well competitively, but I stopped so early. I stopped when I was around 8 because my mom was like, when you hit 20 years old, you can't even skate anymore because you're gonna have so many injuries on top of that. So do you have any personal experiences with that?
Yeah, honestly, for me, I've been quite lucky with my skating journey. No concussions or anything, and like all mild injuries. 2 summers ago, I was training a new jump a lot, and I would fall a lot, and I always fall on my left hand. So then I sprained my wrist, and even now, I guess it just kind of healed weird because when I like spin my hand around, it cracks. But it's fine. It doesn't bother me in my day-to-day life. Another time, I fell on my knee at a weird angle, and then it just hurt really bad. After I went to the doctor a bunch, and I got an MRI scan at like 4 a.m. on my knee, they found it out to be I sprained my PCL, like a tendon and part of my muscles, which was one of the reasons I ended up retiring from competitive skating, because it was very hard to recover from that.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents don't want their kids to keep doing the sport if they will get like constant injuries from it. So like for you, was your family like a big part of were they supportive of your figure skating career, or like when they saw that you were having injuries, did they kind of want you to stop skating?
I think my family was pretty supportive because they could see how much fun I was having on the ice, and they would watch me. There was like a balcony above my rink where all the spectators could go, and they would see how happy I was when learning a new skill or something like that. So they saw how much I loved it despite all the hardships that came along. So they were pretty supportive. And at the end, quitting or taking a step back was my decision because I realized I had to prioritize school more, and my parents totally agreed. So they just kind of supported me the whole way.
Also, as you were transitioning out of skating, I also know that you started to do pageants. So that's a very unique thing. I don't think many people have done pageants or know too much information about that. So how about you kind of tell us about that experience?
Towards my last year of figure skating, I came across the opportunity to do a pageant. So I enrolled into it. I found this from my mom's friends. One of our family of friends, her daughter got the opportunity to do the same thing, but her daughter wasn't very, like, since I'm usually a very talkative person and outgoing, her daughter wasn't as outgoing. So then she saw me and she thought that I should really do it. So me and my mom looked into it more and we registered with a pageant coach so I could feel more supported throughout my journey into pageantry. All the experiences, it was super cool getting all my makeup done by professionals and then getting photo shoots and then picking out dresses and then meeting so many cool people, like so many cool teens like me who wanted to step out of their comfort zone and try something new, which is a pageant.
Yeah. So for people who have that like stereotypical view of pageants, because personally I have seen TV shows with like the baby kids the pageants, or like even like just like any show, they kind of like have that image of pageants are just like people who are models or like really pretty. They just try to show that to like a bunch of people or judges to win. What did you personally learn from it, or like was there any different views on it that you had from the stereotypes that they have on like social media and TV?
Initially, I thought that it was more or less like you get dressed up, put on pretty makeup, and just go on stage.
Yeah.
And then I learned that it was so much more than that. And it was more of like the kind of person you're inside rather than what you show outside, contrary to what stereotypes say. Part of the pageant was the interview. So the judges, they interview you based on like kind of on your personality. They get to know you and they want you to be the face of British Columbia or Canada or whatever. They want you to be a good representative of it. So I realized that personality and your ideas and your goals and just kind of who you are is the most important. And it's more important than the makeup you wear, the clothes you wear. Because another part of it is your walk, like how you model or you walk on stage.
Confidently?
Yeah, exactly. And that also is a reflection of your confidence as a person, as you said. And then also, that's something you could train with. It's not like you're born pretty. Like, you like train how to walk. So it's definitely not like the stereotypes at all.
Yeah, I feel like if you are really pretty, but you have no like aspirations or like a mission to make a positive impact in the world, then it's unlikely that you will win a pageant, because they want to see that you actually have ideas. Because you're not just there to be well, you have to be like in photos to like show the brand, but that's not the main part. You have to do things outside of it, such as community service, volunteering, and just like advocating for a platform. So for you, you had a platform, I believe. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, my platform was very science-based, which was definitely something unique. A lot of the other girls there, a lot of them did like social media and stuff, like more like
Mental health.
Yeah, social stuff. And I chose something scientific because science has kind of been a part of me my whole life. I've always wanted to go into sciences, be a scientist and stuff. And I had a club at school for the astronomy club. And then my platform was to just teach more people about astronomy because, again, it's not very well known and there's a lot of stereotypes surrounding it, such as like astrology and zodiac signs.
Yeah.
So my platform was to educate more people on astronomy and science in general by hosting workshops.
This concludes the end of part 1 with Alexandra. Tune in to part 2 to learn more about her thoughts on social media, procrastination, and body image.